In this video, I want to talk about why people get uncomfortable when you decide to center yourself. And this is something that I've started to see an issue with in my own life as I've been going through my own journey of reinventing myself and making changes in my life in areas that I'm just not happy with, right? And I want to talk about it. And I'm going to tell you what I think it is. But let me first start with just a bit of my story. So, back in September of 2025, I had my mental breakdown of sorts. I don't know if I could officially call it that, but that's certainly what it felt like. It was just a lot of things converging at once and just like overwhelming me in my life. And I decided to really get serious about creating the life that I want. And it was slow at first. I've started documenting it since my 42nd birthday. Of those of you who've been watching my series, just trying to put myself out there, talk more about my story, and kind of share my journey with people who may be going through the same things. I lost my job in early 2025 during the federal layoffs and all of that. I was a government consultant and lost my job because a lot of contracts were canceled. And I think by September, still struggling to find a job, things just kind of came to a head. And, I just got really serious about putting myself first, focusing on myself. I didn't have the bandwidth to, prioritize everyone else. And my life was just in a place where I just really need to lock in and focus on what I needed to do. I can say from that experience, from this experience, from being on this journey, I think when you decide to centering yourself is going to require you to set boundaries. Whether you go into it knowingly, knowing that you're going to be setting boundaries. I don't think I really recognized that that was what I was doing in the beginning because I've always struggled with setting boundaries, right? And so being in a place where I'm centering myself and having to set those boundaries, I think if I had called it boundaries, if I had told myself that that was what I was doing, I would have hesitated on it because I was just so used to people pleasing and being there for everyone else. It would have taken me longer to be consistent and like lock in on that. So I'm glad I didn't even recognize that that's what I was doing. Yeah, when you decide that you are going to focus on you, in order to make room for what that requires in your life, it requires you to set boundaries with people. It means that you're not always going to be available. It means that you can't be, you may not, if this is something that you have to deal with, you may not be the person that they call to dump on. You know, in those early months, I really had to protect like my mental space because of what I had just been through, and just to give you kind of a bit of it, I was experiencing panic attacks, anxiety was at an all-time high, and I was just struggling to focus and like do anything a lot of the times. Like the fact that I was able to get my kids to school and do what I needed to do as a parent surprises me when I look back on that time because it was really challenging. Yeah, I had to really protect my mental space. I couldn't be the person who, you know, people called for advice. And for me, while I feel like I may have been able to handle this better, I kind of ghosted everybody. I'm not necessarily proud of that. I feel like I could have handled that a different way, but being a person who wasn't used to setting boundaries, was always used to pleasing people, I had a harder time telling people I needed the space. I think I'm at a place now where I don't have a hard time saying that. If I need space, I tell people that. I feel like I'm able to tell people that. I feel like I'm able to voice what I need better than I have in the past. So I'm happy about that. um, but yeah, I had to really lock in on boundaries. And if people are used to you being available in a certain way, they may not be happy about that. And so, friends might be concerned as to whether they're still going to have the same friendship that they've had before. And more than likely not, because if you are a people pleaser or a person who's used to putting people before themselves, which is a lot of women in general, even if you're not even if you don't consider yourself a people pleaser. It means relationships change. And so if you have strong relationships, people will understand that. And if you've had relationships where, maybe you have friends who know that you probably could do better in setting boundaries, right? Who are supportive of that, who want that for you, who want better for you. That should be something that they're happy about, that you're actually making those changes and that the relationship does change a bit. But yeah, once you decide to center yourself, boundaries are pretty much the first step and the thing that you have to stay consistent with, because people are going to challenge this new season of your life. They're going to be people and situations and environments that are going to challenge the changes that you're trying to make, and without boundaries, you'll be right back where you started. You'll be right back to what you were, to the horrors of that you were living before, and you don't want that, right? The second reason I think people get uncomfortable when you center yourself is that people get upset when you take away the thing that they're used to taking advantage of, right? If you stop being available in certain ways, especially I think if you are a parent, or a child of older parents, um, I think when you're focused on you, it doesn't mean that you don't have to take care of the things that you have to take care of, right? If you're a parent, you have to parent, right? But as a parent, I can say that I can look at myself as the center of my life, as the center. And if I take care of me, all the other things in my life get taken care of. My children are better, my lifestyle is better, my relationships are better, my work is better. I am the center of it all in my life, right? And so that's how I look at it. I don't look at it as me being neglectful. And I think that when people go to the mindset of it being neglectful, I think there's a bit of the programming that we have, especially as women, to put everyone before ourselves, right? And no, I think that putting yourself at the center is very much a new concept, and there's a lot of pushback about that. Women are supposed to be nurturing, women are supposed to be giving, women are supposed to be selfless, and with more women deciding to put themselves first, there is a pushback from people who are used to taking advantage of the benefits of the nurturing and the giving and the selflessness. And yeah, they're not gonna like that, when your teenager wants you to come get them. I don't have teenagers, but this is an example. Your teenager is out past curfew and wants you to come pick them up from some random place at 2 a.m., and you're like, no, figure it out. You know, when I was a teenager, I remember on the weekends when I was older teenager, probably about 16 or 17, I had a curfew of midnight. And I remember one night, my mother worked nights, right? So a lot of the times I got away with not being home at curfew. Most of the time I was home. On this particular weekend, my mother was not working. There's a bee that's anyway. On this particular weekend, my mother was uh not working, and I was not at home by midnight. And she locked the doors. She locked the doors, put a chain on, all the things. And when I got home, it's probably close to 1, and she would not open the door for me. She was just like, "No, my door locks at midnight. On a Saturday night, my door locks at midnight. If you're not in here by midnight, you need to find somewhere to be. So find somewhere to be, because you're not coming in here." And that is exactly what she did. And you know what? I think part of it was because my mother knew that I wasn't always keeping curfew when she wasn't around, that she just decided, yeah, we're not going to play that game. Right? And I learned from then on. Even when she wasn't around, I kept my curfew. Even when she was at work, I was like, let me make sure get my ass in the house, because I don't want no problems. Okay, I don't want her to hear that I wasn't there on time. I don't want none of that. Right. So yeah, when you get to a place where you're ready to center yourself, people are not gonna like the changes that you make. I was pissed when I had to figure it out. I was upset, but guess what? It straightened me up. It allowed me not to play in her face, right? Because I knew that she wasn't joking about it, and she was sticking to her boundaries, and she was sticking to the reasons why she was doing what she was doing. And I think people either gonna get with the program or be out, and that has to be part of your boundaries as well. part of your boundaries has to be consequence, has to be, if you don't stick to these boundaries, what happens? And the boundaries are not just for other people, it's for you as well, because this is your journey and this is your life. And the boundaries are there to support you and, you know, keep you on track, as well as get people, or not get people, but like let people know what's how to treat you. Boom. That's what I'm trying to say. It lets people know how to treat you, period. Okay. And then the third reason I think that people get uncomfortable when you center yourself is that it holds a mirror up to themselves, right? If you're a person who doesn't put yourself first, who centers other people around you, who's frustrated with the fact that, their life feels like just being a wife or a mother, or they don't know who they are anymore, which is a natural progression of life. But if you have no boundaries, you almost struggle to get back to yourself or find the newest version of yourself. And if that is what you're experiencing and you're watching a friend or a family member, or, you know, s- a, a woman in your community deciding to make the change to put herself first and just watching her flourish and bloom, that can spawn some feelings of jealousy or inspiration, right? Hopefully, inspiration, right? But it can make you feel even more frustrated with your life because it's holding a mirror up to what could be possible for you if you step past fear. And we haven't really talked about that in this video, about the fear that comes with centering yourself, because we don't have a lot of examples um, amongst women, I think, of generations before us who centered themselves, who put themselves first, who made themselves a priority. And the ones who did were were almost seen as black sheeps, or ostracized, or odd, or weird, or selfish, right, for doing so, right? We may know of an auntie, or even in movies where you see, the aunt show up to Christmas with her new day each year, and she don't have no kids, or she's not married, and she's just living her best life, and they make her seem like she's, odd, right? She's strange for not for going against the grain. And when you don't have examples like that, it can be you can feel fear for deciding to make that change, or even thinking about making that change. It can be scary. I think there was some fear for me, of course, but I've been odd in other areas of my life, right? By, leaving a government job to become an entrepreneur, then a government consultant while being an entrepreneur. I've always been weird to people, right? Um, for a long time before having children, I don't even think that I had children late per se, but I was very adamant about not having kids in my 20s. And people thought that was odd too, right? By choice. I chose not to it was by choice that I didn't want to have kids in my 20s. And people thought I was weird for that. So I think I'm more used to kind of like being the odd man out a bit, or odd woman out. But yeah, now being a mother and deciding to put myself at the center and prioritize me in a culture, in a world and culture, because my family is Caribbean. You are a mother before anything. If you have children, you are a mother before anything. And I was like, no, I am me before anything. I am me before I'm a mother. I am me before I'm an employee. Losing my job definitely had to make me, um, definitely made me think about how I identified when it came to work, because I didn't realize how much of what I did was a part of who I was, and or how I identified, at least. It's not a part of who I am. I guess it is a part, but like it's not who I am, right? And I realized that because it was something that I was so proud of, it did become a part of my identity. And so that is one of the things that I am prioritizing not doing in the future. So that's my video, guys. Those are my 3 reasons I think people get uncomfortable when you prioritize yourself, when you center yourself. But I think that centering yourself is the beginning of creating the life that you truly want for yourself. And so, till my next video, I hope you guys are creating a life that fits you, that funds you, and that allows you to live the life that you want to live. So, I'll see you in the next video.